Hey, it's the Red Rican, and today I'm going to talk about how Chuck Schumer and the Democrats want to shoot themselves in the foot with this whole Voting Rights Act nonsense. Um, Basically, what's going on is the Democrats don't like the laws that were Republicans passed in their states, in particular Texas. So I'm going to use the Texas bill in particular to show you um, just like whole thing, like, when you talk about, we already know fact checkers just are opinion people. They've admitted it in lawsuits now that fact checking is just another opinion. That's it. um Show you this article here from Fox, but I'm also going to show you one here from Yahoo News, and I'm going to show you something that they don't talk about here. uh Schumer roused to turn up heat on GOP on voting rights, risk exposing moderate Democrats on filibuster. Schumer gambit will also force vulnerable Democrats to make a tough election year vote. So here's the whole thing. You have two Democratic senators from Arizona. Okay. You have Cinema and you have, what's his name? The astronaut. Uh, it's here somewhere in the article. Sorry, like Davis, I think Mark Davis. Let me see. Um, yeah. So you have this guy. So let's just say, okay, you got these two Democrats. Now, if you force them to vote on this, there's going to be a backlash with Arizona voters. Arizona voters are, it's not it's an independent state. There's a purple state. They go back and forth with who they vote. They vote on issues, and if this is not an issue, if this is an issue that's going to piss off the independents, and it's going to be interesting where this guy votes. But what I want to point out here is just funny how this stuff is allowed to be said. Here it goes. um Excuse me. Son Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is forcing votes on Democrats' election reform proposals and the Senate filibuster this week in a move to draw a line between Democrats and Republicans on voting rights. um no, here's the sorry. This is what I wanted to push back on. It goes, and if Senate Republicans choose obstruction over protecting the sacred right to vote, as we expect them, the Senate will consider and vote on changing the Senate rules, as has been done many times before, to allow for passage of voting rights legislation. Oh, it goes, wait. Wait a minute. The problem is Schumer doesn't have the votes. Oh, here it goes. How can we, here's what Schumer said. How can we, in good conscience, allow for a situation in which a Republican Party can debate and pass voter suppression laws at the state level with only a simple majority vote, but not allow the United States Senate to do the same? So this want to point out. So I wanted to search for the article. I was hoping to get like a left leaning site like CNN. But I'm going to go through some of these changes, what it talks about in the Texas law. But here, I was looking, this is what I found. It goes, the Texas Senate voted 18-13 along party line votes to pass the measure after the House voted 80-41 to approve it. So let's start with the House. Okay. If you have, that's 121, right? So if you go, is it 81 divided by 121 equals 66%. Okay. So 66% in the House of the Texas Senate, of the Texas Congress, approved of the measure. Okay. Now here goes. You have 18 of 13, which is 31. So once again, 18 divided by 31 equals 58%. Okay. Now people will go, oh, but wait, that's, in the Senate, it's 60 because, 60%, 60 of 100. But here's the whole thing. If you go 19 divided by 31, it goes 61%. So if you want to look at it, it is pretty much in line with what a filibuster would be, a filibuster proof majority there in both houses. Okay. So this whole thing of simple majority is nonsense that Schumer's talking about. This is just a talking point he uses because the media won't push him back on it. Because they want to, if you see some of the things that they want to look at, some of the things that they will fight. Here's some of the stuff that CNN, voting rights under attack. The new Texas voting law includes these 7 major changes. So let's go through the bans 24-hour voting. Okay. You're allowed to vote from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay. Lived in Texas. I could tell you the early voting is for what is it, a month to 2 weeks before the election, every day of the week. Okay. So, they're talking about here, they're complaining here, and this here goes, Harris County, which is the home of Houston, opened 8 locations for around-the-clock early voting, an option that was popular with shift workers in racially diverse in the racially diverse county. Here's the whole thing. Why the reason they're throwing this in here, right, is to be able to say, oh, they're doing this because they're racist. Okay, look, listen. Shift workers is not just a black and brown thing. They act like white people don't do it. But here we go. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's a large window. So if you, let's say, for example, my wife gets out of work at 10:30. She has to be in at 1:30. That means she could go vote before she goes to work. Okay. So if she could vote before she goes to work, that's fine. Same thing. Let's say, for example, you have the third shift in the same job. People come in at 10:30 and they leave at 5:30 in the morning. So that means they could go vote and then go to bed. They could go there early, go to bed. So there's ways to do it. Although at the same time, I'm one for that election day should be a national holiday. Okay. But you do have early voting in most states that you could go, and so you could vote on the weekend early. Bans drive-through voting. Okay. And another provision that targets Harris County, the law prohibits drive-through voting. It was enacted for the pandemic, including a parking garage. Okay. This I will say, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me one way or another. I don't see the point in banning it, and I don't see the point in having it other than during the pandemic. Other than that, I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be a normal thing. You should have to go, and they want to make it as easy to vote as possible, and I think that's lazy. You want lazy voters. I want invested voters. Okay, here's what they're complaining about. Another thing: new vote by mail ID mandates. I don't think this is. It goes here. If you want to do, okay, so if you want to do, if you want to do mail-in ballots, okay, this is what you have to now do in Texas. You will now need to either provide your driver's license number or the last 4 digits of your social security number twice, once on the absentee ballot application forms and once on the envelope in which they return the ballots. Those numbers will then be matched against voter records to confirm they are who they say they are. And so I'm like, why is that bad? You're just confirming the right person's voting. Okay, so that's the one that kills me the most. Excuse me. And then they also talk about um that's the one that to me was just like, really, they're against having an ID to vote, saying that's racist. But meanwhile, when Texas passed this a few years ago, when I lived there, you could um, you could get a free voter ID. You just had to go to the DMV to go there and get your free voter ID. That's it. You didn't have to pay anything for it. Which most people in Texas have driver's license, so there's no need for that. So to make it seem, you know, that it's black and brown people that are can't get IDs, that's racist. That type of mentality is racist. But anyway, this article is about. I really wanted to talk about this with what he's doing here is he's shooting himself in the foot, Schumer, right now. Why is he doing this? Probably because he's scared that AOC is going to primary him. That's what it boils down to. He's worried for his job. So he wants to throw red meat to the progressive members of the party, especially there in New York, to go, hey, look, I'm doing the best I can here, and look what I'm doing for you guys, and that's what that's why he's proposing this. But this is where they're talking. Oh, Mark Kelly. I said Davis. It goes, but the other Democratic senator like Mark Davis, who's up for re-election this year, haven't taken a firm stand on the filibuster. So I mean, there's a bunch of Democratic senators who are in purple states, where independent states, where if they go vote the wrong way, they're in trouble. So if they're on record in voting for against the filibuster, or voting for these laws that people in their states might go, hey, I don't see why we're stopping voting IDs. Like, why are we stopping people from having to show who they are when they go vote? Why are we trying to stop people from having to put the last 4 digits of the social security number or the driver's license on a ballot? It's they make it seem like every single thing that they're doing is to prevent black and brown people from voting, because that's the only way they could get it. They could get you to fear it, to get you to agree with the changes they want to do. They want to make it easier to cheat. Okay, you could say Republicans are making it harder to vote, which, okay, I'm fine with saying they're making it harder to vote, because we want a secure election. We don't want people to just be able to go, I want a mail-in ballot, and then you have no proof. You have no proof of who you are. You could request a ballot for someone, a neighbor or something, grab it from their mailbox. They may not know. What if there's someone that doesn't vote? Or there's someone who doesn't vote? They actively don't vote. So you request a ballot for them and you take it. Yeah, it's fraud, but it's fraud that goes unchecked. But if you put social security number or driver's ID, guess what? Then it's a level of security that if your neighbor tries those shenanigans, then it's not going to work. So I mean, how hard is that to understand? But that's the Democrats have a big ally in media. A big ally in media, because they agree with the Democrat stance. They're not objective. They're just toe the party line. They complain about Fox being the same way, but guess what? Okay, maybe Fox will fall in line with the Republicans, but all you other stations fall in line with the Democrats. So when you have so that's why he's going to shoot himself in the foot. You're going to see him do this. That's going to put some vulnerable Democrats in difficult situations because they may not get to vote that way. So, let me know what you guys think. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm the Rican. You can follow me on YouTube and Rumble, and you can interact with me on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, CrowdHub, Parler, Getter, all those social media sites I'm on. All right. With that being said, have a good one.